Hi, this is Hung, author of the 5 Steps to Speak a New Language. First of all, thank you so much for all of your comments and your feedbacks on my last video. In that video, I have shared with you my story about how I was struggling for many years with my English and how I finally overcame it in just a few months. We've also talked about the opportunities you can get once you master your listening and your speaking skills. We talked about the working opportunities you can absolutely apply to all those multinational corporations out there looking for candidates in Asia. We talked about the learning opportunities. You have chances to learn from the best gurus in the world. The only thing you need is that you must be able to hear and understand what they say. We talked about the business opportunities. The business world is now flat, and you are free to join the global market, to search for a customer, your suppliers, your partners around the world. And today, by watching this video, you're going to understand more in details about how you can really master your English in a short period of time. Well, what do I mean by short period of time? I'm not talking about years. I'm talking about months. It might be 8 or 9 or 10 months. I can't say exactly how long because it also depends much on you. But some of my friends and my students were able to do it in 5 or 6 months. You're going to pick up one of the most important factors that determines whether you will quickly achieve your goal or will be struggling for many years with the language you want to learn. Let me start with a question. What do you think is the most important thing when it comes to learning a new language? Let's pause for a few seconds and really think about it. What do you think? Well, there's not a single answer for this question, but when it comes to language, most people must agree with me that vocabulary is at the top of the priority list. Without vocabulary, you definitely can't hear, you can't speak. You're still able to communicate a little bit without grammar or with poor pronunciation, but you can do nothing without words. Because essentially, language is formed by words and the way they're put together logically. But have you ever asked yourself how many words you will have to learn? Or how many words are there in English? I know that most people don't make this question because people just start right away without realizing how far they have to go and how long it will take to get to the end of the road. And that is not really good when you have a long journey. You'll be more likely to reach the target if you have a map in your hand, or if you can realize how far you're going to have to go. Now let me tell you, if you take a look at a dictionary, you'll find that an average one may contain 100,000 words. A bigger one may have 200,000 or 300,000 different words. And I have another question for you. How many words you can learn and remember each day? Given the fact that you learn them and then you forget them, right? You learn and you forget. So how many words do you think you can learn and remember each day? Now let me assume that you can learn and remember 20 words per day. And this is not a bad number at all. To get 300,000 words, you're going to have to learn continuously in 15,000 days, which equals 41 years. Wow, it sounds scary, doesn't it? But just calm down. Don't worry, it won't take you 40 years to learn English if you know this one principle. It is Pareto principle. Even though you could have heard about it before, but let me give you a very quick review. Things in our world are arranged by an interesting rule, which is called the 80-20 rule. This was found by an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto. That's why it is also called the Pareto principle. In the beginning, he observed that 80% of the lands are owned by 20% of the population. And then he found that this number is true in many other fields as well. For example, 20% of the workers may produce 80% of the result. or 20% of the customers may bring in 80% of the revenue, or 20% of the features normally cause 80% of the usage, and so on. In fact, the rate 80 per 20 is rather a symbol than an exact number. In many cases, it could be 90 per 10 or 95 per 5. The reason why this principle became famous is because, thanks to it, people could decide where to put their efforts into, like their time, their money, their resources, in order to get the most results. And the great thing is that this principle is also true in learning a new language. Even though the total number of different words in English may come up to more than 300,000 words, only a small portion of that number is used in daily lives. As early as the 1930s, George Zip has found what people now call Zipf's law. He researched various languages, including English, and he found that each word has a different frequency of occurrence. In English, for example, the word "the" tops the frequency ranking with 7.5%, the word "of" following with 3.5%, and so on. Amazingly, just 130 words make up 50% of occurrences. Other studies show that Americans use somewhere from 2,500 to 3,000 most common words in their daily lives. The good news is that these 3,000 common words build up more than 95% of the content in any conversation, telephone call, email, or even books and newspapers. In other words, instead of learning more than 300,000 different words, you can focus on 3,000 most common words but still understand 95% of all conversations, emails, newspapers, and books. These most common words belong to what we call the core vocabulary. Some linguists believe that the core vocabulary should contain 4,000 instead of 3,000 words. Others think it should be 2,000. But to me personally, I think the exact number is not very important, because the bottom line here is that you will be able to master your new language by focusing on this core vocabulary. When I share this finding to my friends and my students, some of them ask me, what happens if I still want to learn every word because I want to understand 100% of the content? Well, if you have the same question, let me tell you the following 3 points. Now, firstly, I'm not telling you to stop learning after getting those 3,000 words. Because once you're mastering your core vocabulary and understanding most of the language, no one stops you from discovering further to enrich your vocabulary, right? The point here is, which side do you want to focus on first? Do you want to spend years focusing on 297,000 uncommon words to understand 5% of the language? Or do you want to spend a few months focusing on the 3,000 most common words to get 95% of the language? And secondly, another reason for you to focus on the core vocabulary is that in order to remember and be able to use a specific word, you will have to be exposed to that word at least several times. Many linguists believe that a person will need to get exposed to a certain word from 5 to 10 times to master it. And that's why it's not a good idea to spread your efforts unfocusedly. And finally, let me tell you, 95% is fine. It's fine. Think about it. Getting 95% of a content is similar to getting 19 words of every 20 words. Let me give you an illustration. If you pick up a page from a newspaper or a book written in your mother tongue, like this one. This is a page I copied from VN Express, and then I tried covering one word every 20 words. Every 20 words, I covered one word. Let's try reading through it. Try it. Can you almost get the whole meaning? It is okay, right? That's why I said 95% is already fine. And if you notice, even when you're speaking in Vietnamese with someone living in another location, you may not understand everything if that person is using local glossaries. And what would you do if you don't understand one word or another? You would simply ask, what? Or what do you mean by, or things like that. It happens all the time in communication, even in your mother tongue. And in the last minute of this video, let me tell you my little secret. Actually, I don't know many words. I can't tell you exactly how many English words I know, but I'm quite sure that I don't know more than 300,000 words. But I can speak English quite freely, as you see I'm doing right now. I have no problem talking to my partners, negotiating deals over the phone or face-to-face. I have no problem reading documents, newspapers, books. I can watch movies without sticking my eyes into subtitles. And you can do the same. Now that you've got one of the most important secrets that determines whether or not you will quickly achieve your goal in learning a new language. But we haven't talked about how you can actually get them. Which words are they? In the next video, I'm going to share with you a technique that will help you to quickly acquire all those important words. And the best thing is that you won't have to memorize them, but it will naturally go into your mind and will be retained in a long period of time. So, thank you for watching my video. If you like it, share it with your friends and your beloveds. If you're using Facebook, just simply click the like button to share it with your friends. If you have any question, or even if you don't agree with what I'm telling you so far, feel free to give me your comments and your feedbacks. I'd love to hear them. So stay tuned with your inbox. I'm going to send you the next video soon. But until then, take action. Do something. Do something right now to improve your English. Because if you want to shine tomorrow, you've got to sparkle today.